Always abandon meditation. Practicing samadhi, trance, a frozen state of meditation, they are all our bondages.
It's a pretty deliberate provocation right off the bat.
I mean, it sounds like the exact opposite of literally every single piece of wellness advice you hear today.
Oh, completely.
We are constantly bombarded with this message, stressed, meditate, anxious about your job, meditate.
Right. Want spiritual growth? Sit perfectly still.
Exactly. Just close your eyes and meditate. But that quote I just read, that's from Astamokra Maharishi, who is a highly revered ancient saint, and it perfectly sets up the mission for our deep dive today.
Yeah, it really is.
We're looking at this stash of sources centered around a truly fascinating text by Sri Bhagavad. It's called Give Up Meditation, Get Enlightenment.
Such a great title.
It really is. And we're looking at that alongside commentary from ancient texts like the Yogava system, plus some modern psychological analysis. Our goal today is to unpack why something that is globally prescribed for peace of mind might actually be like the ultimate roadblock to getting there.
And to truly grasp what these sources are pointing to, we have to ask you, the listener, to set some ground rules for yourself right now. You need to step into the role of a judge today, not a lawyer.
Ooh, I like that distinction, judge, not a lawyer.
Right, because a lawyer fiercely defends a pre-existing position, you know?
Yeah.
A judge simply weighs the evidence neutrally without a stake in the outcome.
Which is really hard. I mean, people are very defensive about their wellness routines. We have our meditation apps, our streets.
The morning rituals, yeah. We defend them because we've invested a lot of effort into them. But if you immediately start defending your current practice, you'll miss the profound insight here.
Right?
There's actually this story from the text about Mullah Nasruddin that perfectly illustrates this human tendency to just justify our actions. So Mullah's sitting on his porch, watching a heavy downpour, which he considers this beautiful gift from God, and he sees a friend running past, covering his head with a blanket to stay dry. So Mullah stops him and scolds him. He says, "Rain is a divine gift. It's an insult to God to hide your head from it."
So the friend, feeling incredibly guilty, drops the blanket and he walks all the way home getting absolutely soaked to the bone and catches a horrible fever.
Exactly. So days later, the friend is finally well enough to go outside, and it happens to be raining again. He's standing there on the street, hesitant, shivering, wondering if he should endure another soaking just to please God.
Poor guy.
Right. But just then, he sees Mullah Nasruddin sprinting past, covering his own head with a heavy blanket.
The friend yells out, "Wait a minute, you told me not to hide from God's gift."
And Mullah, without missing a single beat, yells back, "I'm running so I don't disrespect God's gift by stepping on it with my muddy feet."
That is amazing. Human justification is practically an Olympic sport.
It really is. We effortlessly invent reasons to protect our beliefs.
Yeah.
If you act like an advocate for your current practices, your brain will generate literally any excuse to reject this new perspective. So for the duration of this deep dive, just, drop the defenses, be the judge.
Let's start at the foundation then. If the sources claim we need to give up meditation to find a sorrow-free state, well, we need to define the terms. What actually is sorrow according to this philosophy? And why are all our intense striving efforts failing to cure it?
So solving sorrow and achieving enlightenment are structurally the exact same thing in this framework.
Yeah.
You can't really understand one without the other.
Okay.
According to the text, the absolute root of all human sorrow is the demand for pleasure.
I feel like we need to clarify that because demand for pleasure just sounds like wanting a nice dinner or, I don't know, a vacation.
No, it's much deeper than that. It is the fundamental demand that reality must feel a certain way. We desire a sorrow-free state, but that very desire creates a rigid expectation. And when reality doesn't match our will, that contradiction creates conflict. The text uses this brilliant analogy about a burning car to show how this demand creates suffering.
Oh, I love this one.
Imagine walking down a street lined with parked cars. Suddenly, one of them catches fire. If it's a total stranger's car, you might stop and watch. You might feel like mild curiosity or think it's an interesting spectacle.
But if I look closer and realize it's my car,
your entire physiological state changes in a split second. You feel a physical panic, this inward compression. Your heart races.
Oh, yeah.
Hourly, it's just metal and plastic burning, exactly like the stranger's car.
Yeah.
But inwardly, you feel like you are burning. Why? Because your attachment to the object has made it a part of your identity.
we can modernize that so easily too. If I'm at a cafe and someone else drops their phone on the concrete, I wince, but I go back to my coffee.
Sure.
But if I drop my phone and hear the glass shatter, my stomach literally drops out of my body. The attachment is what hurts, not the glass.
Exactly. Our possessions possess us. We attach our identity to objects, to specific outcomes, and even to, like, the states of mind. When those things are threatened, it contradicts our will. That internal contradiction is the very definition of sorrow.
Okay, let's unpack this because I have to challenge this logic for a second.
Go for it.
If the demand for pleasure is the root of sorrow, what about the pursuit of enlightenment? Isn't reading this text or trying to achieve a peaceful state of mind just another disguised demand for pleasure?
Yes,
Aren't we trapped just by having this conversation?
that is the paradox that completely breaks the mind. The urge to attain a desireless state is structurally a desire.
How do you escape a trap when the act of trying to escape is the trap itself?
You are identifying the exact wall that every spiritual seeker hits. We create misery in the name of searching for a pleasurable, enlightened state. The effort itself becomes the barrier.
Right?
This is the core realization of all the great masters.
Mm-hmm.
Buddha, J. Krishnamurti, Ramana Maharshi, none of them achieved their breakthroughs through their intense spiritual striving.
The Buddha story is the perfect case study for this actually. He was a prince, he witnessed human suffering, and he made it his absolute mission to fix it. He starved himself, he engaged in the most grueling penances imaginable,
Just absolute torture.
right? He sought out the greatest meditation teachers of his time and mastered all their techniques, and he completely failed.
He reduced himself to a skeleton, and the answers still eluded him. Finally, in a state of absolute dejection and exhaustion, he sat down under the Bodhi tree. He gave up.
He just quit.
He abandoned the search entirely because he realized his own effort was futile. His mind, like a car slammed with sudden brakes, violently shifted gears from searching to a totally new, desireless dimension.
So, if his big aha moment wasn't a specific action, but rather a total collapse of effort, what physically changes in the mind when we stop trying? Like, how does the mind shift gears like that?
The sources break this down into two distinct states of mind. They use two very specific Sanskrit terms that we should take a moment to unpack: Manolaya and Manonasa.
Let's start with Manolaya.
Manolaya is essentially integration, concentration, or meditation. It is the state where your mind joins with an experience and holds on to it. Think of it like water that is poured into a vessel and then placed in a freezer. It turns into solid ice. It takes the rigid shape of whatever experience it's having, whether that's intense focus on a spreadsheet, profound joy, or deep sorrow, and it gets stuck there. It becomes solid.
So, the very act of meditating, focusing on the breath, trying to block out distractions, trying to achieve stillness, that is Manolaya. We are actively freezing the water.
Yes, we are using willpower to hold a specific shape. And then there is the alternative, Manonasa. This term is frequently mistranslated as the destroyal of the mind, which, terrifies people.
Yeah, nobody wants to destroy their mind. It makes it sound like you become a mindless zombie.
Exactly. But the more accurate translation is the destroyal of the frozen state. Mananasa is the natural, innocent, liquid state of water. Liquid water flows into a vessel and takes its shape temporarily, but the moment it is poured out, it loses that shape immediately. It flows freely. It doesn't hold on to the past container.
The text uses a piano analogy for this that is incredibly helpful. Think of a single reed on a piano. When you strike the key, the sound rings out for a fraction of a second and then it naturally fades into silence.
Yes, exactly.
Our experiences are built to function exactly like this. An emotion arises, we feel it, and it naturally fades away instantly. But when we feel a negative emotion and our intellect rushes in to fight it, it's like we are furiously pressing that same piano key over and over again to make the sound stop. We are the ones renewing the noise.
Our intellect actually works against us in the inner world. When we operate in that innocent, liquid state of Mananasa, experiences pass right through us without leaving a scratch. But when we apply our knowledge and our effort to try and fix our feelings, we drop the temperature. We freeze the water.
This reminds me of that story from the Yoga Vasistham about the demon. I think it fits perfectly here.
Oh, the demon without a mind. Yes, please share that.
So, in the story, the angels were trying to defeat this massive demon, but they couldn't do it. Every time they attacked, the demon just brushed it off. And the reason was the demon had no mind, it was pure innocence, pure liquid water. It didn't hold on to any grudges or fear. So the angels went to God, Narayana, for help.
And Narayana's advice is so counterintuitive.
Exactly. Narayana tells the angels, go fake some attacks and then run away in fear. So the angels do this. They attack and run, attack and run. Over time, the demon starts to form memories. It starts to think, hey, I am strong and they are weak.
It forms an ego.
Yes. Its mind solidified from innocence into calculated memory. It froze. And the moment it developed that solid mind, it became vulnerable and the angels destroyed it. Our innocent liquid minds become solid and vulnerable through all our accumulated knowledge and conclusions.
That is such a profound story.
So, if our natural state is this beautiful, free flowing liquid water, who or what is the entity that keeps trying to freeze it? Who is the I doing all this trying?
This introduces what might be the most challenging and brilliant concept in the entire text. It's a concept called Chijodakranthi.
Chigodakranti.
Yeah, it sounds like a mouthful, but it simply translates to a knot. It explains the absolute illusion of the experiencer.
A knot between what? Let's spell out exactly how this illusion works.
It's a knot between Jada and Chith. Jada translates to lifeless matter. In this context, all of our experiences, our passing thoughts, our flashes of sadness, our moments of joy, they're all Jada. They're just dead, lifeless data passing through the brain.
Oh, okay.
Chith, on the other hand, is our pure, raw, unqualified awareness. It is life itself. It's the screen the movie plays on.
Okay, I follow that. The data is lifeless matter, the awareness is life.
So the experiencer, the ego, the voice in your head that says, I am angry, or I am anxious, is nothing but a temporary knot tying that lifeless data to your pure awareness.
Wait, so the experiencer isn't actually me, it's just a temporary fusion?
To understand this, look at how we experience dreams. The text uses a dream analogy that clarifies this beautifully. When you are asleep and dreaming, you might find yourself as a passenger on a train in one scene. The next scene shifts, and suddenly you are the driver of a speeding car. Your entire identity, the I operating within the dream, is completely dictated by whatever experience is happening to you at that exact millisecond.
Mm-hmm.
You assume the character of the train passenger, then you assume the character of the driver.
But I never recognize myself as the dreamer lying in bed until I wake up. I fully believe I am the character.
You never realize the character you are playing is just a temporary byproduct of the dream's narrative. Sri Bhagavat argues that our waking life operates on the exact same mechanism. The experiencer who's feeling anxious right now isn't a permanent solid entity. It is a temporary character born directly out of the anxiety itself.
The event creates the experiencer, not the other way around. Every fraction of a second, a new thought arises and a new I consciousness is generated just to experience it.
The ego is born and dies thousands of times a day.
Here's where it gets really interesting though. If the I is just a temporary product of the experience, just a knot of data and awareness, how can that I ever achieve enlightenment?
It cannot. That is the great cosmic joke. The effortful I cannot achieve the effortless state because its very existence relies on effort. The text uses a story about the sun and darkness to prove why the ego can never reach enlightenment.
Oh, I like this one.
So, darkness goes to God and files a formal complaint. Darkness says, God, the sun is constantly chasing me, hunting me down, and torturing me. You have to make it stop.
So God calls the sun in for a performance review.
God asks the sun, why are you harassing darkness? And the sun looks genuinely baffled. The sun says, what is darkness? I've never seen such a thing in my entire existence. Bring this darkness to me right now so I can look at it.
Light and darkness cannot exist in the same space. The moment the light arrives, the darkness ceases to be.
In that exact same way, the I consciousness, which is entirely a product of effort, of freezing the water, of manalaya, can never enter mananasa, the effortless liquid state. The self cannot enter the selfless state. Any attempt by your ego to achieve inner peace is just adding another layer of effort, tying another knot.
Okay, this is profound, but I have to ground this in reality for a second.
Sure,
If the I can't achieve enlightenment, and all our intense spiritual efforts actually make things worse by freezing the mind, how on earth do we navigate daily life? Let's say I'm at work and a toxic boss insults me in front of my team. I get angry, the water freezes. If I can't try to calm myself down, what do I actually do with that negative emotion?
To navigate that, we have to draw a very strict line between two mechanisms: reaction and counteraction.
Okay?
A reaction is an unconscious biological automatic feeling. When your boss insults you, anger flashes in your brain. You didn't schedule that anger, you didn't choose it just happened based on your conditioning.
The text calls that the lightning. I love this metaphor. The reaction, that initial involuntary flush of heat in your face when you're insulted, is the lightning bolt. By the time your conscious mind registers that it happened, the strike is already over. It's a dead experience.
But then comes the thunder. The thunder is the noise that follows the strike. The thunder is our counteraction. Counteraction is when we willfully adopt that anger. We start ruminating. We stand in the shower 3 hours later having imaginary arguments with our boss.
We've all been there.
We either lash out or, and this is a trap for people into wellness, we violently repress it. We tell ourselves, I shouldn't feel this way. I am a mindful person. I need to take deep breaths to make this anger go away.
Wait, repressing it is thunder too.
Absolutely, because it requires effort. Both lashing out and repressing are thunder. You are trying to manage a lightning bolt that has already vanished. Trying to fix a mental reaction is like trying to wake a dead body.
You're pressing the piano key again. So, what is the alternative to wrestling with it?
The ultimate solution offered by the saints is a concept captured in the Tamil phrase summa iru,
Sumairu, do nothing.
do nothing. But we have to be incredibly precise about what that means. Summa iru is not a physical practice. It does not mean sitting perfectly still on a cushion like a statue.
Right? It's not meditation.
No, it is an intellectual understanding. It is the profound, bone-deep realization that you absolutely cannot do anything to fix your internal reactions. Once you truly accept your utter inability to control the lightning, your mind gives up the ghost. It halts its struggle. You stop listening to the thunder. And the words written on the water simply fade away naturally.
I have to push back here because this is where my mind rebels. If I literally do nothing when I have a terrible, angry, or cruel thought, won't that bad thought inevitably lead to a bad action? Won't I just become a monster?
It's the most common fear people have when they hear this, but the text clarifies it with the analogy of cotton and fire. Think of an unlit cotton wick sitting on a table. It doesn't instantly catch fire just because a lit match is carried past it, right? It takes a moment of sustained, deliberate contact.
Makes sense. As
Your passing thoughts, even the cruel or anxious ones, are like random pedestrians walking down the street outside your house. They are entirely harmless. They only become dangerous. They only spark into action if you open the front door, invite them into your living room, and willfully adopt them as your own identity.
So the spontaneous flash of anger is just a pedestrian walking by. It's only when I say, yes, I am angry and I'm going to lean into this, that the cotton catches fire.
Exactly. When you intellectually understand that internal thoughts are harmless, temporary phenomena, you stop inviting them in. You let them walk right past the window. That is what it means to summa iru.
Okay, this brings us to a massive contradiction we have to resolve before we wrap up.
Let's hear it.
We have spent this entire deep dive dismantling meditation as a tool for inner peace. We've said effort is the enemy, the water needs to be liquid, and the ego can't fix itself. But Sri Bhagavat is not saying meditation is useless. In fact, highly successful people in ancient scriptures like Thiruvalluvar's Thirukural advocate for it heavily. If it's terrible for inner enlightenment, what is the true place of meditation?
The resolution to the entire paradox lies in dividing your life into two distinct spheres: the inner world and the outer world. Inwardly, regarding our psychology, our emotions, and our ego, we must be completely actionless. We must be the liquid water.
Right?
But outwardly, in the physical world of our careers, our duties, our families, and our goals, we must be highly effective. And to be highly effective in the physical world, requires manolaya. It requires intense concentration, planning, and integration. Meditation and focus are essential tools for worldly success.
Inner actionless, outer action.
Yes, the profound danger arises when we take the tool of meditation, which is designed to build bridges and solve math problems, and point it inward, trying to force our emotions into submission.
The text actually shares two really wild stories to show the danger of these occult distractions when meditation is applied inwardly.
Oh, yeah, these are great.
First, there's the young house surgeon. He was practicing intense meditation and he unwittingly astral projected. He sent his subtle body out and he accidentally knocked over and broke a local astrologer's liquor bottle.
Just completely unintended chaos.
Exactly. And then there's the story of Papa Swami. She was a woman who attained Hanuman's powers through intense, inward focused meditation. She could literally turn sand into gold. She was so physically grounded that a local rowdy couldn't even push her over.
She had literal superpowers.
Right. But what happened? Eventually, she realized these powers were completely useless for finding actual peace. She called them a bundle of sins.
Hmm.
She gave up all her powers and went to work watering a coconut garden for daily wages just to live a simple, peaceful life.
It just shows that acquiring mental superpowers or extreme focus inwardly doesn't equal enlightenment. It just builds a stronger ego. To summarize this perfect balance of the inner and outer worlds, the sources use the analogy of a sewing machine, and I think this brings the whole concept home perfectly.
Okay, I'm picturing a sewing machine.
Think about hand stitching in the old days. Look at an old sewing needle. The hole for the thread is at the very back of the needle. When you stitch by hand, the thread follows the needle through the fabric. Historically, this is exactly how spiritual seekers operated. Meditation was the needle, and they hoped that enlightenment, the thread, would eventually be pulled along behind it.
So, if meditation is the needle, are you saying we've been trying to push the thread through the fabric backwards this whole time?
That is exactly the shift in perspective. Look at a modern sewing machine. The mechanism is entirely different. The hole is at the very tip of the needle. The needle follows the thread. Today, the text suggests we must put enlightenment first. The intellectual understanding must lead the way. We first understand that we are powerless to change our inner reactions, and we drop the internal struggle. The thread goes through first. Then, with that profound inner peace established, we use meditation, the needle, secondarily, to perfectly execute our duties in the outside world.
So, what does this all mean for us? It means we don't need to torture ourselves with endless internal striving. We don't need to feel guilty when we miss a day on our meditation act.
Absolutely not.
We don't need to force our minds into frozen, rigid blocks of ice just to feel spiritual. Enlightenment isn't some mystical, glowing trance state reserved for hermits living in caves. It is simply the natural, innocent, liquid state of the mind that instantly emerges the very second we stop fighting our own temporary experiences.
Perfectly said.
We use our focus, our effort, and our meditation to crush it at our jobs, to build our lives, and to take care of our families. But we leave our internal world completely alone.
It is the ultimate relief. You don't have to fix yourself, because the part of you that supposedly needs fixing is already gone a fraction of a second later. Which brings me to a final thought for you to mull over as you go about your day.
Let's hear it.
The next time you feel a sudden flash of anger or a wave of anxiety or a pang of sadness, try to catch that exact moment between the lightning of the emotion and the thunder of your brain rushing in to try and fix it. What would happen to your day and your life if you just let the lightning flash, knowing the storm is already over and simply decided not to listen to the thunder?